In an unlikely comic book crossover, we have Sonic the Hedgehog and his friends team up with the Justice League to take on Darkseid, who has invaded Sonic's homeland. I was able to secure a copy of this crossover in preview form for Free Comic Book Day. I know a while back, but I just got around to reading it and I wanted to share my thoughts with you. Hi, my name is Jacob Berry, and this is the Studio Jake vidcast. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to like this video, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment what you think about, and of course, subscribe. Check out the pinned comment for more. Okay, so like I said, Sonic the Hedgehog crossing over with Batman and the like, that seems kind of unlikely. However, DC Comics and Sega are doing this sort of epic come together. We've seen toys come out featuring Sonic dressed up as the Flash, and Shadow dressed up as Batman, Amy Rose dressed as Wonder Woman, Knuckles the Echidna as Superman, Silver the Hedgehog as Green Lantern, and Tails as Cyborg. This is such a very unexpected crossover, but a welcome one. I like seeing the Justice League do sort of these smaller, kind of sillier adventures. And I'm going to be honest, this is obviously a comic book meant for kids, but I do think it was a really fun read. So here is the DC Comics release of it, and like I said, I got it on Free Comic Book Day. Now, I would like to know in the comments section below, how was Free Comic Day where you were back in May? Because where I was, it was kind of smaller scale, and I don't blame the comic book stores for that. I know that the comic book industry is getting a lot stingier, but I did manage to grab the Justice League Sonic the Hedgehog crossover, and I actually had a pretty good time reading it. Now, I'm not going to give spoilers away to the story, but I did just want to show you this interaction. So here we have Sonic and his friends. We see Amy Rose and Tails, and they are encountering Darkseid's vessel, which looks like a Darkseid head. I think that's kind of funny how they did that. Also, I really enjoyed how the artwork is. It is really good. I love this image of Knuckles the Echidna here. Knuckles was always one of my favorite Sonic characters. In fact, in the Archie comics, he was my favorite character before they did the whole Genesis Wave reboot where they made the comics more like the video games. I actually preferred Knuckles' solo adventures to even Sonic's. They were so well written. He had his own comic book spinoff for a while, and he would be highlighted later in an anthology series that they did called Sonic Universe, I think is what it was called. And eventually he started hanging out with the Freedom Fighters, as they were called in that comic book. So as you can see, I've got the shirt with Knuckles on it. But I did like the pairings here. Knuckles in the comic hangs out with Superman a lot. Batman hangs out with Shadow. Green Lantern hangs out with Silver. Cyborg hangs out with Tails. Wonder Woman with Amy Rose. And they all kind of have like these smaller mini adventures in it that all kind of accumulate. One interesting debate is which speedster is faster. And of course, when Flash is connected to the Speed Force, it is Flash. There is no question about it. He can go faster than the speed of light. And when he enters the Speed Force, he can go, I think the last comic book limit, if I remember correctly, is he can go up to 9 times the speed of light, and he can even outrun black holes, gravitational pulls. Of course, he can travel through time when he goes that fast. Sonic has not reached time traveling speed at this point. However, on his planet, the Speed Force does not exist. So when Flash shows up, he's actually a little bit slower. Sonic, originally when he was introduced, when he doesn't have a power ring, he could only go the speed of sound. And when he got a power ring, though, he could go faster than the speed of light. And eventually, though, he got to where he could do that naturally. And now he actually can enter the speed of light just running on his own. Just over time, his power got greater. As Supersonic, he can actually go 9 times the speed of light, similar to Flash. In this comic, they're constantly one-upping each other, which was really funny. They're both trying to see who is faster. Now, one thing about this comic, so this takes place in the IDW Sonic universe. One of the things about that one that is different from a lot of the others is Sonic is usually not able to run on water, not even ice, unless he has a power ring. For some reason, water is his weakness. Now, that has been inconsistent certainly in the original Sega games. He couldn't run on water. In the Archie comics, he could only run on water if he did what was called the figure eight run, where that was where his feet would go in the shape of a figure eight, but he couldn't hold that for very long. It would tire him out. And that type of run, he could even float a little bit. There's a really famous saga in the Archie comics called the Death Egg Saga, where Sonic falls, but then he manages to get his feet to run in the shape of the figure eight, and he's able to float, and he even fights a flying robot, one of Robotnik's machinations. So anyway, I thought that was really good. There's actually a really cool moment where Shadow at first doesn't want to get involved with this story, and so he kind of goes off on his own. However, Batman tracks him down, and they have a moment where Batman tries to empathize with him a little bit about him losing his parents right in front of him, and Shadow tells him about Maria. So then, of course, he agrees to join, at least until Darkseid is defeated, as the ultimate life form, as he constantly refers to himself. It was a lot of fun. It was well written, tons of fun, and like I said, you can't take this too seriously because it is written for kids. There is one flaw in it that I'm going to show you so you don't think I'm being dramatic. So on this panel, this is the moment where they have the big introduction. They're all introducing themselves. You see the Justice League up here. Sonic and his friends are down there. And at this page here, there is a great shot of the Justice League. This is an excellent panel. I applaud the artist there. This is really good. However, I'm going to criticize the writer here, and it's Superman saying, "We're the Justice League, heroes from another dimension. I'm Superman, protector of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow." You cowards at DC Comics, you cowards at IDW, you cowards at Sega. No, Superman is truth, justice, and the American way. I will say a better tomorrow is better than world peace, truth, justice, and world peace. That one was stupid. That was the Obama era of Superman. It was so stupid. Stop being cowards. Superman is an American comic book character. He was made by two Americans who lived in New York City, and DC Comics is an American company. He is truth, justice, in the American way. I'm so tired of you cowards removing it just because of some identity politics or political correctness. Have some spine. Have some backbones, you cowards. Okay, with that rant over, except for that, I had a really good time reading this comic. It was a lot of fun. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to continue picking it up, but I do think that it is a blast. It's got some of my favorite characters. I would have preferred Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern of this issue, but John Stewart is a wildly popular Green Lantern, and I know DC Comics wants to kind of push him forward since he's going to be in that ill-fated Lanterns on HBO Max series, but I do think that this is a good lineup. I do think it's a lot of fun. I probably would have swapped out Silver with a different character as well. I am not a big Silver fan. I think there's too many Hedgehogs. Shadow was okay as a good sort of anti-dark Sonic. I know people are going to say, well, what about Hyper Metal Sonic? He's a robot, just Hedgehog shaped. He's not actually a Hedgehog. You know, Sonic is the plucky, kind of braggadocious adventurer who's very extroverted and he cares about his friends. Shadow, he's lost everything he cares about, and he thinks he's the ultimate life form, etc., etc. And I like that mirror image. Silver seems a little unnecessary to the story. I get that they wanted to introduce some new characters to still contrast why Sonic is different. I would have gone with a different character than him, maybe with Mighty the Armadillo or someone like that. Maybe Mighty the Armadillo or Blaze the Cat, you know, someone just to kind of shake it up a little bit, because Silver, he is kind of getting old, to be honest. I don't really care for him that much. But those two criticisms, you know, with the Green Lantern and Silver, ironically, because they team up a lot in this series. But I'm fine with them being in this story. It's not like they ruin the story. The only real major complaint is the one I just ranted about. But otherwise, this was a fun read. In the Free Comic Day edition, there's also a backup story, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And I am not as into that story as a lot of people are. I'm a big Godzilla fan. I'm a big Justice League fan. And probably if this had come out, you know, pre 2014, 2016 even, I would have been more excited for it. But just the way identity politics and political correctness has bled into these stories, it's really aggravating for me, and I just can't go in with an open mind. The only reason I even read the Sonic the Hedgehog Justice League crossover was because it was Free Comics Day. I probably would not have bought this on my own. I am not a fan of a lot of the new stuff. I won't say no new stuff. I'm a little on the fence about Absolute Batman. I reviewed the first volume. I'm buying it as graphic novels, not individual issues. I just reviewed Absolute Batman Volume 2, which that should be up soon, or it's probably out already. I'm trying to remember my scheduling off the top of my head. But anyway, back to the Justice League Sonic crossover. If you're looking for something that you want to enjoy because you really like Sonic the Hedgehog and you really like the Justice League, this is actually a pretty good read, and I think it'll be fun. Like I said, it's also meant for all ages, so your kids can enjoy it as well, especially if they like Sonic, especially if they like these superhero, or if they're not into one or the other. So say they really like Sonic because of the video games, this is a good way to introduce them to the Justice League. If they're into superheroes but not that interested in gaming, this is a good way to introduce them into Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a lot of fun. There's not a previous quest, so you don't have to read to know what's going on. They do a good job of making it a standalone story, and I think it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm trying to decide if I liked it well enough to get issue 2 or to buy the full version of number 1. I'm going back and forth on that. Still not totally sure, but we're going to wait and see. And if you're wondering why my background is more Batman-centric than it usually is, that is because I am filming something very special, and it has to do with, I'll let you figure it out, but it's going to look like this for the next couple of webisodes. I am going to do some comics cartoons in canon, so that will feature my Void mascot, who will take the reins on a few of those, but I'm still going to do some live reviews like I am doing here, so you can enjoy that as well. But it will be a Bat-centric background for a while, and that should come as no surprise to you. After all, Batman is my favorite comic book superhero, so yeah, you can see how this makes a lot of sense. But if you're wondering, like, hey, where did the Yaira poster go? Where did the Gundams go? Where did Spider-Man go? That is what is going on. And it's because I have a really cool project coming up that I'm currently pitching, that I'm currently working on, and I look forward to sharing that with you. Hopefully soon, but this one is kind of big, so it could take a little bit longer. By the way, sorry, I'm kind of having a bad hair day today. I didn't realize it until after I started recording, but I've done videos with bad hair days before. Sorry about that. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you want to support me in the work that I do, check out the link to my website. It's in the pinned comment and the description of the video. It's studiojakemedia.substack.com. You can head on over there. I've got all kinds of articles on all sorts of pop culture stuff. I do film, comic books, manga, anime, television, and so much more. Different tiers unlock different perks, so I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe there. At that same website, there's a conveniently titled Buy My Book section. It's where you can pick up 1 or all 4 of my novels. I hope you'll check them all out. I've got links all over the place, but you can find them all on Amazon.com. Leave me a 5-star review if you get one. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.
I've been living life right like I